There is a food that ancient pharaohs demanded for their journey into the afterlife. A tuber so nutritious that it sustained entire civilizations for 6,000 years. And today, agricultural departments across the world have classified it as one of the worst weeds on Earth. They sell you herbicides specifically engineered to kill it. They publish technical bulletins calling it a menace. They have created an entire industry around its eradication. The chemical companies have made millions teaching farmers to poison it out of existence. This plant produces more calories per acre than most cultivated crops. It survives droughts that kill everything else. It grows in conditions where wheat and corn would starve. It requires no fertilizer, no pesticides, no machinery, and that is precisely why they had to destroy it. This is the story of the superfood we call a weed. Welcome to Nature Lost Vault. In the early 1900s, archaeologists excavating pre-dynastic Egyptian tombs made a discovery that would rewrite our understanding of ancient nutrition. Inside burial chambers dating back 6,000 years, they found something unexpected. Not gold, not jewels. Dried tubers, carefully placed alongside the deceased. These were not random food offerings. Analysis revealed they had been deliberately selected, processed, and preserved. Studies of mummies found these same tubers inside their stomachs. The dead had eaten them as their final meal. The living had placed them in tombs to sustain souls in the afterlife. At Wadi Kubaniya north of Aswan, archaeologists found wild roots of this plant dating to 16,000 BCE, 16,000 years. That is 8,000 years before agriculture as we know it existed. These were wild harvests, proving humans were gathering this food during the last ice age. By 5,000 BCE, this plant had become one of the most ancient cultivated foods in Egypt, ranking only behind emmer wheat and barley. It was not supplemental. It was foundational to the entire civilization. In the tomb of Rekhmire Vizier to Pharaoh Thutmose, the third wall paintings show peasants measuring and preparing these tubers. Workers grinding them with long pestles, mixing them with honey, shaping the mixture into tall, pointed cones. These were sacred cakes, offerings to the god Amun instituted by royal decree for every feast. The ancient Egyptians called them Habel Aziz. The Greeks knew them. Theophrastus wrote about boiling them in beer. The Romans traded them. For thousands of years they were everywhere. This is Chufa, scientifically known as Cyperus esculentus. The Spanish call it Chufa. Africans call it atadwe. In English they are marketed as tiger nuts because of their striped skin. But they are not nuts at all. They are tubers, underground energy storage organs. Chufa is a member of the sedge family, the same family that gave us papyrus. It grows in marshes, in wet soils, in conditions where most food crops would rot. The plant has triangular stems and an underground network of tubers that can number 75 per plant. The tubers are small, about the size of a chickpea. They taste sweet and nutty, somewhere between almonds and coconut. Ancient Egyptians ate them raw, roasted over fires, boiled in beer, or ground with honey. They also used chufa medicinally. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical texts, prescribes chufa mixtures for everything from mouth treatments to fumigations designed to sweeten the smell of houses. Beyond Egypt, Arabs carried chufa to North Africa, Sicily, and Spain. In Valencia, it became the foundation of Horchata de Chufa, a cold, sweet, milk-like beverage that has been produced there since the 13th century. Today, Valencia still cultivates over 1,000 tons annually, specifically for horchata. But here is what is critical. Chufa wasn't just food. It was survival technology. The tubers can be dried and stored indefinitely, without refrigeration and without chemicals. They require no preservation method other than air. Once dried, they keep for years. You can rehydrate them by soaking them in water for a few hours. They swell back to full size, ready to eat or to plant. That storage capacity meant ancient peoples could harvest chufa in November, dry it through winter, and have food security through drought, famine, and siege. Now let's talk about what is inside these tubers, because this is where the suppression becomes criminal. Chufa contains up to 10% protein. That is comparable to many grains. But unlike most plant proteins, chufa contains all essential amino acids. The fat content is high, mostly healthy unsaturated fats like oleic acid, the same fat found in olive oil. Researchers have even proposed chufa as a biodiesel crop because the oil yield is so high. The carbohydrate content is primarily resistant starch. Resistant starch feeds beneficial gut bacteria and does not spike blood sugar the way regular starch does. Chufa has 2 times the starch content of potatoes, but with a lower glycemic impact. You get sustained energy without the crash. The fiber content is nearly 4 times higher than standard fiber sources, promoting gut health in ways the Egyptians understood intuitively 3,000 years ago. It is also rich in minerals, calcium, magnesium, iron, and potassium. It is naturally gluten-free, dairy-free, and allergen-friendly. You can grind it into flour, blend it into milk, roast it for snacks, or eat it raw. So here is the question nobody in the agricultural industry wants to answer. If this tuber is nutritionally superior to most cultivated crops, if it has been sustaining civilizations for 16,000 years, if it requires no fertilizer and survives drought, why is it not a staple food? Why do we plant wheat and corn and soybeans instead? The answer is simple, brutal, and reveals everything about who controls what we eat. Chufa cannot be controlled. And the moment it escaped from Spain into commercial agriculture, they declared war on it. They branded it a weed, and they mobilized every weapon industrial agriculture had to eradicate it from existence. Yellow nutsedge, the wild form of chufa, is now officially classified as one of the world's worst agricultural weeds. Not a minor problem, one of the absolute worst. Agricultural extension offices publish bulletins about it. Universities conduct research on killing it. Chemical companies engineer herbicides specifically to destroy it. The United States Department of Agriculture published Technical Bulletin number 1642 specifically about yellow nutsedge, calling it a menace in the Corn Belt. The United States Department of Agriculture dedicated federal resources to studying how to kill a plant that fed Pharaoh. Why? Because yellow nutsedge spreads via underground tubers that regenerate even after the visible plant is killed. One plant can produce 75 tubers. Each tuber can survive in soil for years. It is nearly impossible to eradicate once established. That regenerative capacity, that resilience, that refusal to die is exactly what made it valuable for 6,000 years. It is survival perfected. But for industrial agriculture, which demands monocultures of patented seeds that must be purchased annually, chufa is a nightmare. So they created an arsenal of chemicals to kill it. Glyphosate, halosulfuron, sulfentrazone, bentazone. An entire pharmacopoeia of poisons engineered specifically to stop chufa from growing. Research papers document the struggle. They admit that single applications often fail. They recommend sequential treatments, year after year, just to achieve 90% control. That is the real threat. Not that chufa competes with crops, but that chufa reveals how fragile industrial agriculture actually is. Our commodity crops require perfect conditions, constant inputs, chemical protection, and massive infrastructure. Chufa requires none of that. It just grows and produces food, abundantly, without asking permission. In Spain, yields range from 3 to 6 tons per acre. Compare that to wheat, which averages 3 tons per acre with intense chemical management. Even on poor soils, wild chufa yields hundreds of pounds of nutrient-dense food with zero inputs. And because the tubers store indefinitely, there is no waste. But here is what industrial agriculture cannot tolerate. You cannot patent chufa. It has been cultivated for 6,000 years. It is public domain. You cannot sell herbicides for a crop that outcompetes weeds. You cannot sell fertilizer for a crop that grows in poor soil. You cannot sell expensive equipment for a harvest that is traditionally done by hand. You cannot create dependency when farmers can save their own tubers and replant them indefinitely. The entire economic model of industrial agriculture requires crops that need constant inputs. Chufa represents everything that model opposes. It is free. It is resilient. It perpetuates itself. And therefore, it had to be classified as a weed, demonized and systematically poisoned. Extension bulletins warn that yellow nutsedge becomes invasive, without acknowledging that invasive means successful. A plant that thrives without help is exactly what sustainable agriculture should look like. Instead, they teach farmers to see abundance as a problem requiring chemical solutions. And who benefits from this? Chemical companies selling herbicides, seed companies selling patented varieties, fertilizer manufacturers, equipment manufacturers. They cannot make money from chufa, so chufa had to disappear. They convinced everyone it is worthless. A pest, something to pour poison on. But knowledge does not die. In Valencia, Spain, chufa cultivation continues. The regulating council protects the heritage of horchata. It represents 700 years of continuous tradition. In Africa, the Hausa people still cultivate chufa as a food crop, trading it in markets across Nigeria and Mali. The knowledge survived colonialism. It survived the Green Revolution. In the last decade, chufa has begun appearing in health food stores as tiger nuts. The paleo community discovered them. The gluten-free community discovered them. Researchers are studying chufa for biodiesel because the oil content is so high, producing 174 gallons of oil per acre. Others are exploring chufa flour as a gluten-free alternative to wheat. But notice what is not happening. No major agricultural university is promoting chufa as a staple crop. No government agency is funding large-scale chufa research for food security. They are still publishing bulletins on how to kill it. The infrastructure remains dedicated to suppression. The herbicide industry continues profiting from its destruction. The narrative remains unchanged. Chufa is a weed, not food. A pest, not a resource. But the plant survives, despite the herbicides, despite the propaganda, despite being classified as one of the worst weeds on Earth. Chufa still grows wherever conditions allow. It still produces tubers. It still offers the same nutrition that sustained Egyptian civilization. And the knowledge survives. Every person who learns that the weed they have been poisoning is actually food from pharaohs' tombs becomes harder to control. Every farmer who discovers chufa produces more nutrition per acre than wheat represents lost profit for chemical companies. Every garden where chufa thrives without inputs is proof that the industrial narrative is a lie. They classified it as a weed because they could not patent it. They created herbicides to kill it because they could not commodify it. They convinced everyone it is worthless because its value undermines their entire economic model. But 16,000 years of human history tells a different story. The story is simple. This plant feeds people, abundantly, sustainably, without asking permission. And that is why they want you to forget it exists. But you will not, because now you know. The pharaohs knew. The agricultural departments definitely know. Chufa is still here, still growing, still offering 6,000 years of nutrition to anyone willing to remember. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and every share helps preserve this wisdom. The next vault opens soon.